All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to make just a brief comment, and then I'll gladly take some questions. Earlier this afternoon, we began formally notifying the men and women of the Harry S. Truman Strike Group that we will not be deploying on Friday as scheduled. The Secretary of Defense has delayed the deployment of USS Harry S. Truman and the USS Gettysburg. We will continue to be ready to deploy as a carrier strike group on short notice as needed to respond where and when our nation needs us. With this schedule change, my focus right now is on the sailors and their families assigned to Carrier Strike Group 10, USS Harry S. Truman, USS Gettysburg, and Carrier Air Wing 3. We know that all our sailors and their families have made extensive personal preparations prior to this deployment. We will be working with a number of community organizations here in the Mayport area to assist our sailors now that they will not be deploying this week. I know our Navy Family Service Centers and our various support organizations will be critical. Additionally, I would ask for the public support as our sailors and their families revise the plans they may have in anticipation of this deployment. The Navy has a great partnership with the Hampton Roads area and the Mayport communities, and I'm confident that these amazing communities will stand by them as we support them in this time of change. And at that, I'll take any questions.
Directly related to the budget uncertainties in Washington.
The Secretary of Defense has made a decision on a change in what is the requirement in CENTCOM. And because of that, there will be one fewer carriers required over there, and that's a change for us.
Truman was originally scheduled to relieve the John C. Stennis, I believe, in March. And now that this delay, does this mean that Eisenhower will be the only relief for Stennis when she gets over?
The Eisenhower is leaving on schedule in the next couple of weeks.
And so she'll be the only one there then, correct?
She will be the only one there relieving, yes.
Admiral, the family members of the Eisenhower are already voicing frustration that their sailors are going out while the Truman is staying back. What do you tell them about why one ship is staying and one is going?
The Ike is scheduled to go back. They came home early on Christmas, and this is the scheduled return. All the carriers have their missions as declared, and right now my focus on Harry S. Truman and these families. We just completed our certification for deployment, and our focus now is staying ready. We're in what we call the sustainment phase, and be prepared for deployment on short notice.
Can you give some examples for civilian families who don't maybe know the situation the military families are into? What kind of arrangements do families make when sailors go on deployment?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, both families as well as our single sailors. Everything from moving out their apartments, moving their household goods into storage, putting their cars in long-term storage, shutting down their cell phone coverage, just the various things. Going home for the last time, seeing mom and dad, and just all those kind of plans.
Isn't this going to put additional hardship on the Eisenhower crew? Because, I mean, if they're the only carrier there, could they be looking at 9 or 10 months when they get over there?
I don't know what their timeline will be, but I would say no, it's not going to put additional hardship on them, no. The rotation has changed. The Secretary of Defense has made a decision that impacts now the missions, how we're operating.
How long do you think this is going to affect?
I have no idea what else.
This is such a unique situation. How do you keep your crews focused when they're running in this?
Yeah, well, it really comes down to leadership. We just wrapped up 3 straight weeks at sea with the Air Wing, the carrier crew here, the Gettysburg, completed certification, motivated crew, and right now our job is to keep them in a motivated status. We'll go through a phase called sustainment. We'll continue to train both in port, we'll go to sea, and we'll train as well, and we'll be ready when called upon.
There's a German ship that's part of the strike group. What's going to happen with them? Are they going to be hanging out here? We can see what happens, or are they going back to Germany?
Truthfully, we don't know what's going to happen yet. It's the Hamburg is the frigate that came over about 2.5 weeks ago, participating in our training, ready to deploy with us. And at this point, we're not sure what exactly we'll hope for them.
You guys deployed with a foreign ship like that before as part of the strike group?
Actually, 2.5 years ago, the Truman did deploy with the German frigate, and back in 2007, the Enterprise deployed with the German frigate as well.
And how long was this deployment scheduled to last? What were you telling your sailors the time period?
It was going to be somewhere between, say, 6 and 8 months or so.
Secretary Panetta has been warning all along that these cuts that the military is facing were going to have an adverse effect on readiness. Are we beginning to see that adverse effect taking place? I mean, is the readiness declining already, Admiral?
Well, certainly not for Harry S. Truman Strike Group, no. I mean, we have completed our certification requirements, our training requirements, we're ready to go. Both the CNO as well as the Fleet Forces Commander Admiral Gortney have been committed, completely committed to supporting the forces that are overseas and the forces getting ready to deploy, like the Truman Strike Group. So we are well prepared, and that's the commitment we've received from our leadership.
On the flip
Surely,
side,
sir.
do you feel that perhaps this is an opportunity to be more ready because there's less demand?
We'll be ready. I don't know if it's more ready or not, ma'am, but we'll certainly be ready.
I ask this because the CNO and several other Navy leaders have spoken repeatedly about how more is being demanded with less resources and less ships. And this is clearly an indication from the Secretary of Defense that you have to do less. Because there isn't enough
I
to
see
go
what you're saying.
around.
Yeah. Well, they've made a decision to change the mission overseas for sure, and that's exactly what we're executing. And what I think what this shows is the flexibility of the United States Navy. We're expeditionary. We travel overseas, we deploy overseas, but additionally, when the mission changes on short notice like this, we can adapt to that. I mean, we're going to hold here. We'll continue to train, but the flexibility that we demonstrate in this kind of example, I think, is incredible.
But clearly this is a funding issue, though, as to why Truman's not leaving, because, I mean, you guys have been doing I know the Air Wing's been doing all their workups and everything. I mean, you guys were ready to go from the standpoint of the ship and the group itself, aren't you?
Well, the mission's changed. I mean, that's the point. The Secretary of Defense has changed the mission today. Exactly.
What does this have in terms of a ripple effect for other aircraft carriers we anticipate in terms of the maintenance side of it?
Yeah, I can't say, quite frankly. I mean, this entire chain of events will play out, and certainly in time you'll know that. But as you know, just because of the carrier presence here, everything is lockstep, for sure.
The sailors and their families.
Yeah.
If it were me, on the one hand, I'd be like excited, great, I don't have to deploy. But professionally,
That's
I'd
a
be
great question.
But I'd be disappointed because I'm ready to go fight the fight.
The skipper and I were just talking about that. The crews are ready. I mean, they've been working hard. They're very, very motivated. They're focused. We're very proud of what the crews have done, both at Air Wing 3, the Gettysburg, and Harry S. Truman itself. So there is great disappointment, quite frankly. The crews are ready to go overseas. At the same time, nobody likes to leave their home. Nobody likes to leave their family. So it's that balance. But again, they'll be ready to go when called upon.
And that's all the time we have.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, folks.